No. Absolutely fucking not. Andrew, are you okay? Andrew, I'm stuck.
Nina Winchester tried to drown her kid in a bathtub.
What?
What, you overheard those PTA cunts saying that I'm crazy? That I don't deserve my husband? That I belong in a nut house?
You told me that I could take him. You said you didn't want them anymore.
And after prison, you'll go.
Enough!
Yeah, that's all the PTA bitches talk about. When Cece was a baby, Nina threw her in a tub of running water and tried to off herself by swallowing a shit ton of pills. Luckily, her husband got freaked out when he couldn't get a hold of her.
This is our house.
My house.
You can't do that.
No!
Let us unlock the secrets behind this hidden darkness and thriller together. Without further ado, the main feature begins. Sydney Sweeney, struggling for a living, comes to a rich man's manor to work as a maid. Receiving her is the mistress of this house, Amanda. This is a live-in nanny job. After Amanda takes Sydney Sweeney to understand the entire villa, Sydney Sweeney is very satisfied with this job. But the mistress Amanda gave Sydney Sweeney a sum of transportation fees, saying that a few more people would come for interviews later. She said she was very optimistic about Sydney Sweeney and asked her to go home and wait for notification. But Sydney Sweeney knew she might never have a chance again because the education and work experience in her resume were fake. Moreover, she has no place to live now. She can only live in the car and then take a shower in the public restroom. She also held a trace of hope for the job and waited. In this way, in the cold winter, she stayed in the car for 2 days. Unexpectedly, when she woke up the second day, she really received a call from Amanda. Overjoyed, she immediately drove her car to Amanda's villa. After arriving at the villa, she received a warm hug from Amanda. It seems that this home really cannot do without a maid to clean. So Sydney Sweeney cleaned until the evening before she finished cleaning the kitchen and the living room. At this time, the male master and his daughter also returned home. Sydney Sweeney, wearing headphones, did not hear the girl speaking. Obviously, she hadn't noticed that the two of them had a class rejection of her identity. They wanted to invite Sydney Sweeney to dine, but Sydney Sweeney politely declined and returned to her attic. Not long after, Amanda brought food upstairs to Sydney Sweeney. Not only did she give Sydney Sweeney a big hug to make her feel less lonely and strange in the new home, but she also presented a new mobile phone for her to use. Future living expenses will also be paid in this mobile phone. Unexpectedly, she overslept on the second day after she arrived. When she hurriedly got up and came downstairs, she saw a shocking scene. Amanda was searching for something like crazy. From her mouth, it was heard that she was looking for a notebook recording the meeting to be used at the meeting at night. The kind and approachable Amanda last night unexpectedly became so emotionally excited. She accused Sydney Sweeney of losing her notebook when she was tidying up yesterday. Fortunately, her husband appeared at this time. He held Amanda and comforted her softly, saying he would send his daughter to school later. She should go to take a bath and have lunch first. The notebook matter will be found later. In this way, the wife's emotions gradually recovered. Watching Amanda leave, Sydney Sweeney hurriedly prepared to clean up the mess in front of her, and also sent away the male master who wanted to help. But when he went out to throw away the garbage, he met the gardener in the garden. The gardener seemed to have something to say to Sydney Sweeney, but after seeing Amanda's fierce eyes not far away, he left without saying anything. In this house, the mistress Amanda seems to be hiding some secrets. However, the male master is very gentle and kind, and they almost kissed at night. It turned out that this was just a beautiful dream. The next day, Saturday, was originally a holiday, but the mistress said that because Sydney Sweeney lost her diary, it caused her to waste a whole day yesterday, so Sydney Sweeney was not allowed to have a holiday. But Sydney Sweeney said she had an appointment today and needed to go out. While they were arguing, the male master Andrew appeared. He let Sydney Sweeney have a holiday and leave, resolving their quarrel. Sydney Sweeney came to the Social Service Bureau. Unexpectedly, she was actually a criminal on probation. If she didn't have this job, she might have to go to prison for 5 years. So this job is very important to Sydney Sweeney. It not only solves the problem of food and clothing, but also a turning point affecting the rest of her life. Just after leaving the Social Security Bureau, she received a call from Amanda, saying she should go to pick up her daughter who was learning ballet from school immediately. But when Sydney Sweeney hurried to the ballet classroom, the little Mistress Cece said she lived at the teacher's house tonight, and the teacher also confirmed this point. But Sydney Sweeney insisted that Amanda must have changed her mind, otherwise the teacher could call to ask Amanda. So the teacher also immediately called to ask. But the result surprised Sydney Sweeney. Amanda on the phone said that today the daughter should stay overnight at the teacher's house. Sydney Sweeney was speechless about this result. So the helpless Sydney Sweeney returned to the villa and also had to face Amanda's accusations. At night, Sydney Sweeney tossed and turned and couldn't sleep, so she came to the living room downstairs to watch TV. Unexpectedly, at this time, the male master Andrew also appeared in the living room and watched TV with Sydney Sweeney. They talked and laughed and were interested in the same TV series. But unexpectedly, just as they were watching vigorously, Amanda also came to the living room. Suddenly the scene became a bit awkward. At 2 a.m., the male master and the maid watching TV together in the living room was indeed a bit strange. So Andrew got up to go to sleep. Sydney Sweeney also wanted to return to the room, but was called by Amanda, saying she let Sydney Sweeney pack up and leave. Sydney Sweeney didn't know what she had done wrong, but she couldn't lose this job, so she begged Amanda to give her another chance. Amanda looked at Sydney Sweeney, who was bitterly pleading with her, and agreed to trial Sydney Sweeney for another week soft-heartedly. She also told her to dress decently in the future. Just as Sydney Sweeney went upstairs, Amanda also warned Sydney Sweeney to stay away from her husband, indicating that Amanda had also begun to be alert to this hot-bodied maid. The next day, guests came to the house, a group of housewives chatting. But after Amanda left, several women began to gossip. It turned out that Amanda had been locked in a hospital for 9 months because of mental illness, and said that they had some prenuptial agreement. If she couldn't give birth to a son, Amanda might have to sleep on the street. This made Sydney Sweeney completely stunned. It turned out that Amanda's various madnesses before were not menopausal reactions at all, but that she originally had mental illness. Thinking about it is a bit scary. Sydney Sweeney wanted to leave here after she earned enough money. The next day, the male master Andrew took Amanda out on a date, leaving Sydney Sweeney at home to take care of the daughter Cece. Sydney Sweeney immediately came to the medicine cabinet to check the medicine Amanda often took. After confirming that it was really psychiatric medicine, she was even more certain of her idea to leave. During the time she accompanied the child at home, she found that Cece had actually entered her room and took away her little troll doll. Just as she was going to warn Cece that she couldn't enter her room. Casually in the future, Andrew and Amanda returned at this time. Sydney Sweeney knew that they must have made another moth, trouble, when they went out. When she was sleeping in the attic at night, she suddenly heard a burst of noise downstairs, so she hurriedly got up and went downstairs to check. Listening to the voice, it was from Andrew's master bedroom, but she shouted several times and no one responded. Just as Sydney Sweeney approached the door wanting to open the door suddenly opened. What came into view was Amanda holding glass fragments, and there was blood on the glass. It turned out that the conversations of those people before were clearly heard by Amanda. Fortunately, after Sydney Sweeney's continuous calling, Andrew appeared and took the mirror fragments from Amanda's hand and brought her into the room. After a night, seeing Amanda's emotions recover the next day, she not only apologized to Sydney Sweeney but also gave her some of her old clothes. She let Sydney Sweeney book theater tickets and hotel rooms for Saturday, saying that this weekend the daughter Cece would live at a friend's house, and she and her husband would go out to watch the theater. In this way, Sydney Sweeney could have a whole weekend. This can be regarded as a kind of compensation for her. Just when Sydney Sweeney thought there was finally a piece of good news, she heard a horrifying thing when she picked up Cece from school. However, what was even more excessive was that when she returned to the villa, Amanda accused Sydney Sweeney of why she booked the theater tickets and hotel rooms. She said she was going to take her daughter to summer camp that day, and she also let Sydney Sweeney pay for her mistake. The theater tickets and hotel money would be deducted from her salary. Watching this scene, the aggrieved Sydney Sweeney was speechless. Fortunately, Andrew appeared in time, took Amanda back to the room, and then told Sydney Sweeney she didn't have to pay the money. The next day after Amanda went out, Andrew said the theater tickets and hotel couldn't be refunded, and asked Sydney Sweeney if she had a male partner so they could go together to watch them, otherwise it would be a pity to waste them. Sydney Sweeney said she had no companion, so Andrew said, "Then do you want to go with her?" After surprise, Sydney Sweeney put forward a refusal, but she couldn't stand Andrew's many invitations, so she agreed. In the evening, she put on the dress Amanda gave her, which instantly improved her elegance and beauty. They came to the theater to watch a wonderful performance, and then went to a high-end restaurant to eat an exquisite dinner. Finally, they came to the hotel and each walked into a room to sleep alone. Sydney Sweeney couldn't believe everything that happened today. But when she came to the bed, she saw Amanda constantly sending text messages and also saying she would fire her. So the nervous Sydney Sweeney knocked on Andrew's big door and told her the things Amanda did. Andrew immediately comforted her. "It's okay, she will handle this matter." "So under this strong atmosphere, you said they are already here, don't you do something?" So some things were done naturally. When they drove home the next day, it happened that Amanda was not at home, and they were stuck together reluctantly again. Not long after, Amanda drove the car back. But as soon as she entered the door, she found something wrong. Coming to the living room, she just saw Sydney Sweeney preparing lunch. Everything was so normal and orderly, without a trace. But when Amanda sat down and prepared to eat lunch, she not only said that Sydney Sweeney had been in prison for 10 years and had a 5-year probation period. This not only startled Sydney Sweeney, but even Andrew sat silently without speaking. But unexpectedly, Amanda next gave the new car keys to Sydney Sweeney, saying that her car was too old and would lower the level of their family. Sydney Sweeney did not know that this was another trap of Amanda. She drove to the supermarket to buy. She met another wife who had come to the house as a guest. She talked about Amanda's former nanny because she couldn't accept Amanda's monitoring, especially mobile phone monitoring, so she basically resigned after a few days. The situation where wealthy family employers implement excessive monitoring of nannies and lead to frequent resignations of nannies has already formed a typical domestic service problem in reality, and is even called the wealthy family employment curse by the domestic service industry. The high-end American domestic service platform Butlerly released a survey data in 2024, showing that the average tenure of live-in nannies in wealthy families with an annual salary of more than $1 million is only 2.3 months. Among them, more than 60% of the reasons for resignation are excessive monitoring by employers. In addition to mobile phone monitoring, it also includes the installation of dozens of no dead-angle cameras in the home, requiring nannies to report their whereabouts at any time, and even restricting private social networking. What's more, some employers will require nannies to accept body searches and prohibit activities in places other than the work area. Although these behaviors are suspected of infringing on human rights, due to the imbalance of supply and demand in the high-end domestic service market, many nannies can only choose to endure for high salaries. Amanda's behavior is a typical manifestation of this kind of phenomenon. The resignation of the former nanny is not an isolated case, but an inevitable result under the over-control of wealthy families. This real industry status makes Amanda's paranoid monitoring more persuasive and also makes Sydney Sweeney's situation more desperate. Until then, Sydney Sweeney knew that the new mobile phone Amanda gave had monitoring. Then Amanda knew everything she did with Andrew. Everything was under Amanda's control. After Sydney Sweeney came out of the supermarket, she was pinned by the police next to the car. The reason was actually car theft. It turned out that Amanda called the police saying that someone stole their car. All of this made Sydney Sweeney feel very aggrieved. Until Andrew appeared and explained everything clearly to the police, she was released and returned to the villa. When they entered the door, Amanda had been waiting on the stairs for a long time. She said she already knew they opened a room in the hotel and also knew they had already slept together. She warned Sydney Sweeney that she would lose her job, lose her place to live, and would return to prison to live because of stealing her clothes. Amanda left the house angrily, drove out the car, and roared angrily at the gate. And Andrew and Sydney Sweeney enjoyed their two-person world in the villa to their heart's content. However, the good times didn't last long. Not long after, Sydney Sweeney will experience a nightmare-like terror abyss. When she was making breakfast for Andrew, she was startled by the gardener standing at the door, making her drop the plate in her hand on the ground and break it. This plate was one of the favorite artworks of Andrew's mother that he ate every day. After Andrew appeared, he drove away and fired the gardener. Sydney Sweeney apologized to Andrew because of the plate. Andrew said, "It's okay. As long as he packs the fragments of the plate and doesn't throw them away, he will find the best craftsman to stick them back again." But he never thought about what kind of punishment he would suffer because he didn't clean the stains on the plate. On the surface, Andrew pretended to be fine. In the next second, he also carried Sydney Sweeney to the attic. He opened a bottle of red wine. After Sydney Sweeney drank the red wine, she thought she was lingering with Andrew, but unexpectedly, after she woke up, she found that although she was still in the attic, the things on the attic were all cleared, leaving only a small refrigerator. No matter how she shouted, no one answered, and she was locked on it. It turned out that Andrew had been at the door all the time, but he just didn't open the door and walked further and further, gradually leaving the attic, letting Sydney Sweeney fend for herself on the attic. It turned out that Amanda's scream after leaving the villa was not the unwillingness after anger, but the roar in excitement. After everything he had done before, now with the replacement of Sydney Sweeney, he could finally get rid of that perverted husband who made him suffer in agony. And this pain was transferred to Sydney Sweeney.